We have a very dangerous scenario unfolding for Bitcoin and Bitcoin traders, but if you are going to play your card right here, you can be profiting insanely from of this scenario. And that's what we need to discuss within today's update video, because most traders are about to get trapped in this stage of the market. So let's discuss exactly that and much more in today's update video. Like all of the most important Bitcoin charts and price data, I will give a big update on my trading positions, and of course we will cover the latest news hitting the market and some upcoming events. So from there guys, make sure to first of all subscribe to the channel and watch and like my latest YouTube videos, and then we can dive into the most important content. Since we have a very dangerous Bitcoin scenario unfolding, because if we are going to compare this Bitcoin potential cycle top with the cycle top in 2021/2022, we can clearly see that it's happening again. Bitcoin has been bouncing from off a very similar level like we saw during this double top scenario in 2021, where we bounced back up, we got rejected another time, then we moved down in towards basically the range low stage here, and then we saw a relief bounce back to the top side. And exactly that is happening once again for Bitcoin, because Bitcoin bounced from off 80k back towards about 87k now. So we are in the middle of somewhat of a relief rally from off this 4-year trend line also. So in this scenario, it seems like Bitcoin history is once again exactly repeating. It is most definitely going to be a likely scenario, and I think a bigger relief rally is going to be likely, because there is still so much liquidity piling up above Bitcoin, most definitely between the 90 and 100k level. I think that this is going to get grabbed in the near future, and from off that point I think we should be very careful with opening new Bitcoin long positions, because then we are potentially looking into this scenario playing out. So now I think people are a little bit overly bearish on Bitcoin, and most short traders are about to get trapped here, since they will get liquidated in a bigger relief move up for Bitcoin, I personally think. And after that we could most definitely see history repeating and a big move to the downside once again for Bitcoin, since if Bitcoin is not going to make new all-time highs from off these levels, I think history is exactly repeating. We are bouncing from off this 4-year trend line, but if we zoom out on the Bitcoin chart, we can see that during all of the bear markets, and basically in Q4 during the post-halving years, once we lose the 50 weekly moving average, we always enter a bear market. And now we have seen 2 weekly closes under the 50 weekly moving average for Bitcoin once again. So according to the 4-year cycle, the Bitcoin bear market is going to get started from now. So if we are going to see a rejection, for example, under the 50 weekly moving average or at an earlier stage, like we can see on this chart here, because during the post-halving years, we do see the relief rally after the Q4 breakdown on the 50 weekly moving average, we move extra slightly back up, and then we see a bigger continuation to the downside. So that is why this is such a dangerous scenario, because here people will get excited again, the euphoria will be hitting the markets again, but that's going to be a moment where I personally will be very cautious. Of course, I will give Bitcoin the room to move higher. If it's going to make new all-time highs from there, okay, I will be the first one to say that the 4-year cycle is potentially going to be broken, but looking into all of the historical Bitcoin data, this is not the most likely outcome at the current moment, and I'm always interested in the most likely outcome for Bitcoin, not exactly in what I want to happen for Bitcoin. So that's what we should keep in mind here, and I will keep you guys up to date on the channel. And yes, I think that short liquidity is about to get grabbed. Another reason I think we could see somewhat of a bigger bounce back to the top side is because smart money is still heavily positioned into Bitcoin. If we look into the Bitfinex longs, they are still adding to their positions, and the RSI is now at the highest level this entire bull market. So this is the fastest increase of Bitfinex, aka smart money longs, we've ever seen. And also now we are about to hit the highest point this cycle for the Bitfinex longs. So smart money has never been this long on Bitcoin this entire cycle, and that is definitely quite the interesting indicator to me. And I'm expecting in a bigger move for Bitcoin back to the top side, they will be taking profits quite aggressively also before hitting new all-time highs. But of course we should just keep our eyes on the data here to see what their next moves are going to be. We can also see that the smart money is indeed positioned long compared to all of the short liquidity stacking up, which are mostly retail traders, because if we compare whale versus retail delta. We can see that whale money is now positioned long and retail money is positioned short, and that is what we can see on the liquidation heat map. So I think we still have a lot of bullish signals, which could indicate that we are going to see a bigger bounce. Also, the oversoldness of Bitcoin itself is of course quite insane at the current moment. We've only been this oversold for Bitcoin 5 times before in history, but we also do know in the midterm years, so the year that follows after the post-halving years, which is going to be 2026, in those years we usually do see a longer period of oversoldness for Bitcoin. So that could most definitely happen again, and that is why I'm not going to state that this oversoldness is going to be the exact Bitcoin bottom. No, I think there is some possibility the RSI drops even low from here, and we stay in that oversold area for a little bit longer. And in that stage, we should be looking for a potential bullish divergence on the RSI or something like that to confirm a cycle bottom. Another very important indicator we should keep our eyes on for Bitcoin is going to be the Coinbase Premium Index, because we have been exactly moving with the Coinbase Premium Index over the last few days and weeks during this month. Basically this entire month we have been following this indicator, because we can clearly see once US selling intensifies, that is usually the moment where Bitcoin sees the biggest drops to the downside, with indeed US selling intensifying. And now we have seen a big bounce back for Bitcoin to the top side, and that is also because the Coinbase Premium has been moving less negative once again. And if we can be flipping this into positive in the near future, it is going to be a very bullish signal for Bitcoin, I personally think. Today we saw some new inflows from the ETF also, and the most important one is going to be that BlackRock ETF, and today we saw some positive inflows for the BlackRock ETF, so that is most definitely a very good signal, and let's hope this is going to continue for this week. But of course tomorrow and the day after we are going to have Thanksgiving, so no ETF trading, only a little bit of an smaller time frame on Friday, but not tomorrow, because then it is going to be Thanksgiving in the USA. So we should keep that in mind also, because then volume and volatility will drop a little bit later into the week. We just discussed a relief rally, but I still think this is going to be a likely outcome, because we've seen it every single time during all of the post-halving years in Bitcoin's entire history. And now I do want to discuss some interesting and important news which we saw hitting the market yesterday. First of all, let's discuss the PPI data, which is basically an important US inflation metric. We saw this dropping yesterday, and the most important was the core PPI, and that came out lower than expected. So that is good for Bitcoin. It's not that good because it is basically coming out like expected, a little bit lower of course, but US inflation is indeed not heating up, it's also not cooling down, it's just neutral, and that's going to be fine for our rate cut decision at the 10th of December, because traders are still pricing in that the Fed is going to cut rates in the next December, 10th of December FOMC. There's now an 84% chance on poly market that the Fed is going to cut rates, so probably we are going to have another 25 BPS rate cut, and I think in the end, definitely long term, this is going to be very bullish for Bitcoin crypto markets. Also, the US stock market is liking the news, because the US stock market added over 250 basis points since we saw the AI bubble panic, where also Bitcoin dropped ever so slightly to the downside here at the 21st of November, where we saw a new low. Then we saw of course very weak performance of the US stock market, and since then we've seen a complete reversal for the stock market to the top side once again, and we are only a few percent away from new all-time highs. So the stock market flipping bullish here is, in my opinion, also going to be good news for Bitcoin and the crypto markets here. So very promising, and let's see what the market open is going to look like today. And yesterday, indeed, we saw the PPI data coming out, but today we have some initial jobless claims dropping once again. So another insight in the US labor market. I will be live streaming this important data once again, so make sure to come over to the channel today and make sure to watch the live stream if you're getting interested in that, because all of this data can have a big effect again on those rate cut odds and that next FOMC decision here at the 10th of December. So make sure to come over if you want to watch the data in real time. Now I do want to give a big update on my Bitcoin and Ethereum trading positions, because of course I'm not in a Bitcoin trading position anymore. You guys do know that by now. You can watch all of the other videos, but potentially I'm looking into open a new position in the near future. If Bitcoin is going to drop ever so slightly lower, I'm opening a long position, and if you're going to move ever so slightly higher, I'm potentially getting interested in opening a short position, but I will keep you guys up to date for Bitcoin. For Ethereum we are still in this trading position, position, which I do think could still be turning out quite well. If this is going to be the moment where Bitcoin is going to initiate and relief rally back to the top side, like we have been discussing earlier in today's update video here. If that's going to be the case, I think Ethereum is going to follow. Bitcoin will move first, Ethereum will follow next, and then our trading position could still be playing out quite nicely. On the Ethereum chart itself, you can clearly see that we have grabbed some liquidity at this major support zone for Bitcoin, where we also saw these big wicks on the weekly time frame. So it's very logical that Ethereum did grab some liquidity at that stage. Then we started moving back to the top side. I think for Ethereum it's going to be important to reclaim this 50 weekly moving average and to initiate a move towards the bull market support band. Of course, a bull market support band reclaim is going to be amazingly bullish, but I don't think this is going to be a very realistic scenario. But reclaim the 50 weekly moving average would be quite the nice first step for Ethereum. And if you do want to join me with my Ethereum trading position or the thesis itself and want to trade a lot of other altcoins on LBank or just Bitcoin, make sure to come over to the link in the description on this update video, because there you can now claim a 50% deposit bonus, a $100 US dollar voucher, and also a generous refund up to 5k. So the deposit bonus is going to be up to 2.5k and generous refund up to 5k. So make sure to come and check this out, or just claim it now to trade with it in a little bit of a later stage. Come and check it out if you're getting interested in that. Of course, in no way financial advice. You should know for yourself where you do want to be trading on, but most definitely for Ethereum, I personally think it's going to be a good opportunity to increase your position size a little bit and to open a trading position here, like I'm doing here on ETH. So let's see how this will be playing out in the near future here, but you can find the bonus and the offer here with the link in the description on the update video. And now I do want to end the video with somewhat of a short outlook for altcoins. Since for altcoins, I think it's very simple, and I discussed this in a lot of video, but I do just want to make sure it is clear to everybody who haven't saw it yet. I personally think that altcoins are going to be heavily affected by the upcoming Federal Reserve monetary policy. And we do have a lot of uncertainty regarding this, because what we do know is that QT is going to be ending at the 1st of December. Last time we saw QT ending, we saw others first Bitcoin entering a major bull market. Let's just call it that. We saw a big altcoin season, and of course we saw the black swan called COVID, but actually after QT ended, all those first Bitcoin pairs started moving higher. So the smallest altcoins priced in Bitcoin, which is what you do want to see for a potential altcoin season. So QT ending is going to be a good first step, because there's more liquidity going to be available. And I think that is going to be absolutely crucial, because I discussed this in a lot of the update videos. I think that we need more liquidity to basically initiating through altcoin season, because it is very different than 2017, where we had a lot less altcoins, so it was much easier for the market cap to rise to new highs. Now I do think it is much more difficult. So QT ending is going to be very welcome, and QE getting started like we saw in 2020, so balance sheet growth, that is going to be the biggest factor I will be looking at for altcoins. If that, and once that is going to be announced, or when I'm going to have the ID, it will be getting announced soon, I will be scaling into altcoins once again, opening potential trade positions. But up until then, I'm going to be very careful with my trading positions, because I think we need QE, and we can also see it on the chart. During periods of QT, we've always seen all those first Bitcoin pairs moving down. We saw here QT getting started, marking the cycle top. Then we saw all this first Bitcoin moving down. We saw the same here, QT getting started, and we saw all this first Bitcoin only bleed since then. So altcoins have only been bleeding, and we have seen some small and very short stages of altcoin outperformance, but they are not lasting for a long time, and also they are not as explosive as we saw during, for example, QE. So yes, I'm seeing a lot of signals here on the chart that for me it's going to be better to be waiting for QE and be waiting to see when there's more clarity about the Federal Reserve monetary policy. Also because in 2026 we are going to have a new Fed president. So, and we do know that Trump likes to see more rate cuts and probably also QE. So there's quite a high chance we are going to get an ultra dovish Fed president in the middle of 2026. And of course that is also going to be crazy for the altcoin markets and just the markets in general. So let's see about all that upcoming stuff. And if I will be making altcoin position in the near future, I will be updating first in the VIP Telegram group, so make sure to come over here. You can join with the link in the description on this update video. Make sure to join the VIP group here, because this is where I'm updating about all of my trading position. If I have something which is very important, I can be updating here much faster than I can be doing so on, for example, YouTube or X. So make sure to come over to the VIP Telegram channel, and then I'm not the only one here. Also, Crypto Rover and 5 professional other traders are active in this group, so I think it's going to be of great value, and make sure to check it out for yourself if you're getting interested in that. And guys, that was it for today's update video. If you did enjoy today's update video, make sure to smash on that like button, subscribe to the channel, watch and like my latest YouTube videos, and then I will see you guys within my next update video tomorrow or in the live stream later today.